So I wanted to do a video on the two bishops checkmate because right now there are not very many good tutorials on the two bishops checkmate. If you just kind of like look up two bishops checkmate on YouTube, what you're gonna find is either some very dry chess video that's going to tell you a bunch of algebraic equations that might as well be, written in some vague alien language. Or you're going to find Hikaru Nakamura's video, which is really, really, really written from the perspective of a grandmaster. Like, he literally just goes through it like, oh yeah, you can do anything here, but I do this, and then you do that, and then you do that. Doesn't explain anything, doesn't explain what the other options are. It's not bad, because he does checkmate the king, but it's not helpful. So I wanted to kind of make a video that covers the two bishops checkmate from the perspective of someone who isn't a grandmaster and is very capable of messing it up. So basically, I wanted to do a two bishops checkmate that is guaranteed. And as long as you follow this basic mating pattern, it is guaranteed. Nice, it's already saying that I'm the best. That's always a good sign. You want it to tell you that you're the best. Because as we know, the bot is always right. So let me just explain that move right there. I went too far. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the bot onto the back rank. Now, as long as it goes into any of these corners, we can checkmate it. You're going to find out later that there's an actual structure that we use to, move it into these corners. It's not random chance. It's nice and guaranteed. But anytime the king moves backwards like that, you're going to want to try to take opposition. So if you're a complete chess newbie, your king, even though you lose the game if it dies, it is technically an attacking piece. All of these squares are attacked by the king at any given time. So that doesn't really matter if you're fighting a queen, because if a queen goes up against, if a queen goes up against this, the queen can just sit over here and then move over here and kill you, and you're dead. But if you're fighting an enemy king, then the king on any given turn can't move into any square that you have opposition of. So right now, this king can move here, 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 and here, but not here and here because my king has opposition here and here. And also because my bishop has attacked this square. So anytime your king can take opposition and kind of keep the king from moving this way, by moving here, you should. In this case, I'm not going to because there is another way you can do it, like this. Yep, see, now it has to move sideways. And you just kind of do this. Yeah, and now it's trapped. Unironically, now it is trapped. You just kind of go. If you ever need a reference, that is a good way to reference. Just kind of right click all the squares. I'm sorry, I don't know the, complex hotkeys for all of that. But in this position right now, we are attacking all of these squares. So the enemy king is functionally trapped. What the enemy king is going to try to do in this position, if they are a 1000, is they're going to try to run away from you. They're going to run to these squares, and I right clicked. Anywhere around here, they're just going to run to it completely randomly, because they're scared of you and they're trying to get away from you. And if they do that, victory's assured. You can just kill them. But if the enemy isn't stupid, to be blunt about it, they are going to move to this square. Now, that square will ruin your day in this formation. Now let's do this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I was just watching the recording back and I realized that I explained this position absolutely terribly. Like, it is genuinely hard to listen to. Just absolute nonsense. So, uh, normally you want to move onto this square in this formation when the enemy king is on this square. If you happen to be closer to this square, the critical square that the enemy king needs to be on is this square. But because we're on this square, it's this square. Just kind of flip it around if you're flipped around. But the reason why it's bad if the enemy king moves onto this square when we're already on this square is because this is one of the few ways that the enemy king can just straight up put us in Zugzwang. And now one of the great things is that we can move from this square to this square to this square in a triangle pattern back and forth until the enemy king moves onto this square or some other square that can't reach this square before we move onto this square to move forward. And that's what we're going to try to do. But if you ever see the enemy king on this square, we can move on to this square and it is way better for us. Now, the reason why this square is so awful is because we can't move our bishop here. Now, when we're trying to walk our bishops up the board, our goal is to keep as many of these squares covered as possible. So if we move this one first, all of a sudden the king can just take that bishop. It's that easy. It doesn't matter what we do, that bishop is just free. And if we move this one up the board, that bishop is just free. So it is impossible for us to move our bishops up the board, unfortunately. So we have to play a waiting move with our king and then come back to here. And then that king can just go back to there. And then maybe we go, back to there and, it just goes back and forth. And then all of a sudden we've repeated that position 3 times and now we're in a draw. So the move I like to play in this position, not necessarily because it's the most efficient, but it scares the crap out of normal players, is just this. So kind of just facing the enemy king takes away as many of their escape squares as possible. And it's also incredibly intimidating. It just really establishes your dominance over them. They can either move to here or to here. Those are their only choices, and both of those are good for you. See? And now, boom. Boom. And the enemy king is trapped. And now, theoretically, yeah, they're going to try to run away. Coward. Got that move blocked, so boom. I've got that move blocked, so got that one blocked too. Boom. And badoom. Unfortunate. Yeah. And now it's back to being trapped. So even at its most haphazard, it's pretty guaranteed. Don't move there if you're on the 3rd row here, because the enemy king can only move there or there, and this is when you normally accidentally mate the enemy king. So just don't move on to one of these 2 squares and block one of these 2 squares. Just do this. And now you're in the mating pattern, and just move there. And since this is the bot, probably there. Or there. Oh, maybe not. What are we getting? Oh, almost. We get there. Yeah. Okay, and now they're trapped. So we go there, there. Oh. Just for education's sake, I'm going to show you why this is bad. Okay. They were smart enough to move there. Fun fact, the bot actually fell for this trap despite moving to this square multiple times until I managed to checkmate it in this position, and then it just stopped falling for the pattern. So I kind of wondered whether I taught it this. It probably just was assuming I didn't know it and was trying to teach me, and now is getting harder because it knows I know it, but who knows. So I'm going to show you the problem with this move, and I'm going to show you how to recover from it. Because you are going to accidentally do this a lot. So what you do, they're going to move there. Yep. So if they're bad, they'll move here. And if they move there, you're going to move there. Later in this video, I'm going to do more examples. So don't worry, you're going to see better versions of this later on. But right now, I want to show you a kind of haphazard one. So right now, what you need to pay attention to isn't the fact that the king is running away and is messing up your formation. What you need to pay attention to is the fact that your king is covering these squares. So you might think right now that you are up 2 bishops. But in the words of, not gonna lie, I thought Ben Feingold was dead. But apparently he's alive. So I guess it's just the Mandela effect. In the words of Ben Feingold, you are up a king. Your king is active in this position, blocking squares, and the enemy king is running away. So, a fun way to say that, your king is active, their king's passive, you're up a king. It's fun. But you kind of need to pay attention to that and realize that they also can't move there in this position because your bishop is right here. And they also can't move there. So the only positions they can really move are right there, and right there. Now, there are 2 positions out of those positions that are really good for us, and there's one that's bad. And unfortunately, the one that's bad is this one. It's the one the king's going to go to. But we can block off this square, so it can either go to the good square or the bad square. And if you're playing against an actual person and not a bot, they'll probably go to this square 50% of the time because they're just playing random moves. So I'm going to play bishop to this arrow, blocking off this square, and the king is going to move here. Yeah. If they move to if they move to this square, it's checkmate in like maybe 10 turns. But because they move to this square, I actually have to get a little bit creative, unfortunately. I know creativity sucks. So right now, because we have an active king and they have a passive king, and their king can run here to escape us, we want to take advantage of our active king and move it right here. And they're going to move probably here. They don't. Okay, so the 3200 bot just made a mistake. So if you ever feel bad about making a mistake in a 2 bishop checkmate situation, don't feel bad about it anymore. Actually, no, there's really nothing better they could have done in this position, to be fair. Yeah, you know what? I was being too hard on the bot. But you do want to move here. Okay. So now the king's like that. So we're blocking this square. We want to block this square. We move the king here. Now we want... Yeah, I like this position. Then here. No, then they move there. Let's see if the bot moves there. Bot does move there. Okay, and now the bot's trapped. See, that's what I mean by this being a tricky position. Even when I'm kind of like pretending that it's lost, it's not lost. So what you're trying to do is kind of create this two bishop structure all over the board. Just because no matter where you go, it's a great trapping mechanic because the king can't move onto this, square because your bishops have opposition. Your king can't kill any piece on the same turn that it moves to a piece. So it has to be standing in a location to take a piece, if that makes sense. You have to already be standing next to a king in order to die to a king. It can't kill you. So any piece that is threatening a square has opposition against the king, if that makes sense. Opposition is a weirdly complicated term that I learned a week ago. We're gonna move there. It keeps saying that I'm excellent as if I don't know what I'm doing. I'm playing a waiting move and going here. Yeah. Okay, see, remember when I said earlier that you want to be on this square when when your king moves there? This is why. Watch this. Perfect. You are covering this square, this square, this square, this square, this square, this square, and this square, and the king is on this square, forcing it to go backward. Anytime when you are in this two bishops formation trying to get your king onto either this square or this square, and you see your king on this square, just for the record, if you're going to this square, technically the king would be on this square in the perfect formation, but just like flip it around, if it's flipped around. If you ever see the king on the equivalent of this square, it's like perfect for you because now you can go into the next phase of the checkmating pattern. And I've been just having a terrible old time checkmating this king. So I haven't actually been able to show you how we move the two bishops pattern. And now technically you can move the two bishops pattern like this. I wouldn't recommend that unless you have a king nearby. And even when you have a king nearby, I wouldn't do this cross pattern against anyone above 1000 just because if, say, for example, I move there, the king just moves there. And then this bishop is under attack, and if I move bishop there, then the king just, takes that. And if I move there, then yeah, you can move there, but it's kind of a pain and it's a little messy. But it does technically work. So, if you want to do this cross pattern anywhere, you just kind of do cross to the furthest out one. Actually, could I do it like that? No, because the king would escape. Yeah, you can kind of do it like that to the furthest out one, and then you move the king there, and then out there. You know what? For science, let's do it here. I'm going to pre-move it just to prove. Okay, they escaped. We're fine, though. No, that loses me. That loses me pieces. Okay, it actually just straight up doesn't work. So this is actually really good. This is actually really good. We just learned a valuable lesson. Don't pre-move. And also, sometimes if the enemy does know what they're doing, they can outsmart you. Like, even if you think you have all the theory memorized, if they're a 3200 bot, they can outsmart you. But you just need to know this move. And now they're trapped again. Not only are they trapped again, I'm sorry, I just tricked you. The one person who's going to view this. This is actually the structure you want to be in. So this structure right here with two bishops, You'll know you're in the right structure when there are three, squares to the end of the board between you and the bishop. Oh my god, I can left click to clear them. I just learned that. I just learned that one. I just learned that. Oh god. Oh, I'm keeping that in the video. That is a learning moment. I was trying to act high and mighty because I had a really, a really smart trick, and I had just learned how to clear the things. Okay, that's really good. So when you're in this position, you can be in this position with two bishops here, here, sorry, here, 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 here. Yeah. You can have your bishops in any of these positions, so long as they are trapping the king. So you can be in this position trapping the king here, you can be in this position trapping the king here, you can be in this position trapping the king here, and so on. And so on. I chose here this time because that's where the king happened to go. But depending on where the king goes, you can do it in any of these corners. You're literally just following them. If they run into one of these corners, you don't need to do any of this weird bishop stuff. You can just follow them with your king and then bring the bishops later. So if you're trying to play against the two bishops checkmate, another thing you want to keep in mind is that you want to stay in the center, because as long as you are in the center, they cannot checkmate you with two bishops. So if you're over here, try to move around them and back to the center. If you're over here, try to move around them and back to the center. If you're in the center, stay in the center. It's that easy. I hate that I didn't know I could do that until now. But this structure is the structure you want to get into. There's a word called transposition, and it's a really, really big word. The verb version is transpose. Anytime you take, whatever position you have to be in and create a position like this that allows a theoretical checkmate, that is called transposing into that position. It's a big word, but it's useful. In any given bishop checkmate, you are trying to transpose into this position, because once you're in this position, checkmate is guaranteed regardless of where the enemy king is. And that's why I've been spending so long here. It gets really boring after this point. So we are trying to move to this square right here. So just kind of when you're checkmating, just kind of rotate whatever square this happens to be. Say your bishops are here, the square would be here. Say your bishops are here, the square would be here? Yeah, the square would be there. So just keep in mind that that's kind of where we're trying to go. Okay, perfect. So just as I'm approaching, the enemy king, their goal is to be on this square when I reach this square, because that puts me in opposition. And I am, in theory, in Zugzwang. Zugzwang, by the way, is the German word for, I think, middle move. Yeah, I think it means middle move, which makes no sense given the definition of the word Zugzwang. But Zugzwang refers to any situation where your best move would be to stay still. So if the enemy, through great positioning, is forcing you to make your position worse by moving because you are legally required to move on any given turn, you are in Zugzwang. And if the enemy king moves to here after I move there, then I am in Zugzwang. Problem is, I already said that this was guaranteed. So if the enemy doesn't do this and doesn't go for this last ditch strat, just go to here and perform the next pattern I'm going to talk about. But if you do get in the situation where your opponent is a literal bot and knows exactly when to oppose you in this situation, you just play this nice little pretty move. This guarantees you the win. So once you're in this move, your bishops are blocking this entire diagonal, and your king is going to be blocking these 3 squares, which means your king is, or the enemy king is trapped on this back rank. I'm going to move here. Now they're going to move there. Now that move assumes that you're going to mess up your next move, which is honestly fair. I have messed up this move a lot. If you mess up your next move, the king can just kind of keep running this way, and then you die. So you need to block the enemy king. So whichever square, or whichever color is in front of your king, pay attention to this color, and move that bishop to right here. Next, what we want to do is, since all of these squares are covered, we want to make sure that the king moves to here and not here. So we block his path with this. Next, we want to block the path again, so we move here. And now the king is in the corner. So you might be thinking, oh, okay, let's, block the king's path again. That is an instant draw. Don't do that. What you want to do instead is this. You move here. Then you move here. And then you move there. It's nice and easy. And that works everywhere. Obviously, this was a very haphazard mate with a lot of problems that I ran into because I was trying to explain it to you at the same time. So we're going to go into the mate one more time. By one more time, I mean probably like 3 more times. And I'm just going to explain it to you again. Because I think now that I've explained the basics, I won't have to spend as much time thinking about that. Ooh. So we're just trying to take opposition against the king by making sure that as many of our 3 attack squares are covering the king's potential movement spots as possible. That just kind of forces the king into one of kind of these 4 areas that we can checkmate him. Okay, and then once the enemy kind of opposes one of your pieces like this, you just kind of move it closer to the king. Yeah, see, because this king isn't thinking, they didn't go right here. The 3200 bot made a mistake. If they had moved there, I would have checked them accidentally like an idiot. And then they would have just moved there, and it would have been frustrating and annoying, and we would have gone back and forth. But because they didn't, I can just go there. And now, no joke, we are so close to checkmating them. It is not even funny. Okay, remember, we want to be in that square when they move away so that we can go boom, boom. And now they're still trapped. Now, the problem with this position is that we're too close. We want to be on these squares when we're performing the checkmate. So we don't actually need the king to move backwards. Your goal in any given checkmate situation is kind of move up and down like this. Sorry. The 4th and 3rd row, you kind of just move back and forth between them. These 2 rows here. You just kind of move back and forth between them to kind of guide the king into one of the corners. The good thing is that when moving backwards, you don't actually have to have the king nearby because it's impossible for the king to attack you. So now our goal is once again to get onto this square. I could probably go through here if I was a grandmaster and just kind of speed this whole thing up, but I don't want to. I want this to be guaranteed. Doesn't need to be flashy. So now once again, remember they're going to move on to here when I move on to there. So I'm going to move like this. And now whichever square is in front of them, I move it to there. Then I block their path. Then I'm dumb and almost draw them. If I had moved there, that was an instant draw. So don't do that. I'm gonna move back here. The king takes opposition, so I'm gonna move here. I'm gonna move there. 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 Okay, so now we're back into a checkmate pattern. Remember when I said earlier that you could just kind of, haphazardly move like that? That wasn't, me telling you not to move like that. Sometimes you gotta move haphazardly. I like to move haphazardly, personally. So, if you forget to move on to this square like I just did, you will end up in a situation like that where you kind of have to recover like I just did. Don't be like that. Just be smarter than me. It's that easy. So what you want to do is on this turn, rather than move here like an idiot, you move here to the square you actually want to be on, and then you move here. Block off, backwards, waiting move, check, check. Yeah. I forgot to move my king, and that's why I messed up. But as you can see, it is very easy to recover if you kind of know the basic techniques. So I'm going to just go again. And now right now the king wants to move up. Now the king wants to move down. So this fun little, dance at the start kind of decides where the king gets mated. The king is going to get mated upwards. That's fun. Perfect. Okay. So even better. Oh, I actually can challenge that. I didn't think they could. Yeah, it's about as good. If they ever challenge you, you can also do that. But see, now they're going to run this way. Nope, they didn't. Okay. I thought they were smart, but apparently they're not. I'm just going to move here. Boom. And now, as you can see, you can be pretty haphazard about this mate and not really care about it too much. It's objectively kind of hard to mess up. And now they're just gonna, assume I'm in the right spot when I get there, so. Yep. They're always in the right spot, so you just play this, and you play this. Like, I know I was making it hard earlier when I was doing the tutorial, because it always looks hard in the tutorial, but it really is not very hard. See? The more practice you get at it, the easier it becomes. So once again, Just get opposition against the enemy king, force them into one of the sides. And now the king is trapped at the bottom, so we're going to mate them at the bottom. This spot's closer, so we're going to go there. They're probably going to go there. Yeah. And we've trapped them in the perfect position, as we all know. So now we get a free move. As you can see. And now because we don't have to worry about challengers when we're moving backwards, we just move backwards. So now, obviously, because this is a bot, even though I pre-moved, they're going to be in the perfect position right here once I get to that move. Nope, they're not because they're dumb. Perfect. It's way better for learning. Okay, so in this position, we're just going to do the exact same thing we were doing before. That sequence works everywhere. It's wonderful. For some reason, I keep getting it in this bottom corner. I don't know what it is. The bot just really likes moving into that bottom corner. When I was recording this earlier, they really liked going to this top corner, so maybe it's just because I haven't refreshed the page in a while. But that's kind of your goal. Even when the enemy king gets away, your only goal is just to set up another mating net behind them. Just two bishops side by side. As you've kind of seen throughout this video, it's very, very easy to set up. You know, just don't be bad, essentially. No, but seriously, it's just a bunch of different patterns, and you have to kind of know how to, I guess, take a pattern. Oh, right. You know, you have to know how to take a pattern like this, add the king here, move it sideways, up and down until you get into one of the corners, and you move the king in front of the bishop pair, and then you do the pattern I taught you, and you're done. It's nice and simple. You don't have to think too hard while you're doing it. I recommend just, you know, doing the drill over and over and over again. It's a great way to practice. If the enemy is, you know, somehow stupider than a 3200 bot, it'll be way easier for you than this. You know, maybe the enemy king will just run into the corner for you and you'll just be able to go there and trap them instantly. Because if the enemy king goes there and you go here, it's going to take them at least 3 moves to get out, so you have at least 3 moves to set up the trap to keep them from getting out. Usually just moving your light square bishop to here. Yeah, that's checkmating with 2 bishops. I wanted to make this video just because the Hikaru Nakamura video that comes up on YouTube is absolutely terrible and taught me nothing. If you want a much shorter video that'll kind of give you the broad strokes, I really like Chess Talk's video, and I think Agadmeter has a video on it, but of course he does. He has a video on literally everything. So yeah, those videos are good, but the Nakamura video just sucks. And that was the video I went to learn, so I had to teach myself this, and now I don't know. But that's how you checkmate with 2 bishops. The method works for me pretty well. So hopefully it works for you.